An ambitious writer and director with dreams of Hollywood greatness. It's that appeal to glitz and glamour that drives many to fulfill those dreams in the movie industry. But for one writer-director, greatness has always eluded him, and his legacy eventually earned him notoriety, just not quite the kind he had sought after. From director Tim Burton comes the story of one of, if not the most celebrated cult filmmakers of all time. Your hosts, Wes and Darling Beat, review this 90s film about a 50s filmmaker, starring Johnny Depp, Sarah Jessica Parker, Patricia Arquette, Bill Murray, and Martin Landau in the role that won him an Academy Award. It's Ed Wood on View the Right Thing.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of View the Right Thing. I'm Wes, and I have with me once again Darling Beat. Hi, Beat.
Hello.
How you doing?
Good.
Good.
You?
I'm doing great. I mean, I've got your voice in my ears. We watched a movie. I mean, what could be greater?
$1 million.
Oh, all right. Did you say $1 million or $1 million butts?
I mean, either, really.
Okay. So we are recording this and the previous episode fairly close to each other. So I don't expect that you've probably gone to the theater to see any movies, have you?
I'm not.
You have not. So therefore you probably haven't seen any trailers. Is that my understanding?
You are 100% correct.
Awesome. So I've seen at least one new trailer. So there's two. I tried to seek a trailer out, but there's not an official trailer for it yet, but you might be interested in it. There's a new horror film coming out called Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. And it's basically Winnie the Pooh and his friends murdering people.
Okay.
The images of the big versions of these characters is really messed up.
Well, my interest is definitely piqued.
Yeah, it's the mask for Winnie the Pooh is disturbing. So there's that. But I couldn't find the trailer for it. I could only find, if you go online and search for teaser or trailer for it, there'll be a bunch of things that say they are, and they're just screenshots that have been released for the film and people talking about them as if it's news. So, no.
Absolutely crazy. They're trying to ruin my childhood, but I kind of like it. I like horror, so.
Yeah. But the trailer I did see that I'm super excited about is Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. And I'm very, very excited about this movie.
Those are the Tom Cruise movies, right?
Yeah, so they filmed the next two back-to-back, and so it's a two-parter. And the first one was supposed to come out this year, and then COVID delayed it, so it comes out next year. And they just released the first teaser for it. And it's kind of a lot of the things that you want from a Mission Impossible trailer. It's okay, these characters are coming back, so cool. But it's low on the stunts. Usually there's some big crazy stunt that you're I can't believe Tom Cruise did that in the trailer.
Yeah.
And they didn't do it. They did a callback stunt to the first film, back in the 90s first film. So that was interesting. That's the only real big, I don't know. I guess there's a few in it, but nothing really massive. Nothing like him hanging onto the outside of a plane as it takes off. I mean, none of that stuff.
Yeah.
So,
didn't he break his ankle or sprain his ankle jumping on a building or something?
Yeah, he jumps from I think he jumps from one roof to another roof, or he jumps out a window onto a roof, and he broke his ankle and continued the scene. He continued to run, he ran off camera. So that guy is he's an insane monster. I love it. I'm seeing Top Gun this weekend, and I'm very excited.
You're going to see it?
Yeah, I'm seeing it 4DX, so the seats move.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that sounds so cool.
Yeah, I feel like this is... I've not done 40X before, so I feel like this is the movie to try it out with because of all the flying scenes and crazy stunts they do. So I'm quite excited. I'm sure the next episode or two from now, I'll talk about how much I enjoyed it. Or didn't. Although I hear the movie's great. Well, anything in your world that you want to discuss or talk about?
No, I don't have much going on right now. You know, usual.
Cool.
What about you?
No, not really all that big. Just hanging out with the wife and the dog and watching the movies. And I'm probably going to do a board game night soon. But yeah, no, pretty normal, wonderful life going on over here.
I love board games.
Yeah,
what are you planning to play?
Oh, I don't know. We have I think 3 guests coming, and we have over 100. I think we have around 120 board games. So we've got a lot to choose from. We usually do like 1 or 2 small kind of warm-up games, just like fun, silly, easy rules kind of things. And then we usually do like 1 big one. My go-to is a game called Who Goes There? And it's based on the book that the movie The Thing is based on. It's called...
Oh, that's pretty cool.
And I think the book's called Who Goes There? So you can be like, Kurt Russell's character McCready, and you're trying to... It's really cool. You're all scientists in the Arctic, and you're sort of battling the elements and trying to figure out how to take off in the helicopter, get supplies for it. And the more you deal with dangerous situations, the more likely you are to get infected by the thing. And if you become infected by the thing, it's sort of a secret thing, and you don't tell anybody that you're the thing. You just try to infect everyone else.
Ooh, sabotage.
Yeah, and so you still pretend to be a cooperative player, but really you've turned into the villain. But there's only 1 infection card. There's a deck of 12 cards, and throughout the game, people secretly draw the cards and look at them and don't say, they can't say what they are. And only 1 of the 12 cards has an infection, so you never know who's going to get it. And of course, when somebody gets it, they're like, "Oh no, it's good. I'm good." Because
that sounds super cool. I like that.
Yeah, it's really fun. And everybody has like a different character with different abilities. Like one guy's got a dog that he can get. So the dog's pretty cool. Because normally, like every couple of rounds, you have to sleep and you have to like pair up, bunk together. But if you're the guy with the dog, you can pair up with your dog, and so that reduces the likelihood of you becoming
getting infected.
Yeah. So good stuff. But yeah, so maybe we'll play that. Maybe not. We'll see. One of the people that's coming is new. We've never met him, so might not get into anything too heavy. Plus, we don't know his tells. We don't know when he's lying yet.
You gotta learn him.
Yeah. Well, I guess we could just jump into it if you want. Should we jump into it?
Good.
All right, so this week's movie was Ed Wood, and I'm going to do the thing that I didn't do last week, which is I'm going to give a quick synopsis. So I just pulled one off of IMDb. So Ed Wood was Tim Burton's first R-rated film. It stars Johnny Depp. Who else was in this? Martin Landau, Juliette Landau, Patricia Arquette, Bill Murray. Sarah Jessica Parker. I was like, what is her name? And the premise is, it says here, because of his eccentric habits and bafflingly strange films, director Edward D. Wood Jr. is a Hollywood outcast. Nevertheless, with the help of the formerly famous Bela Lugosi and a devoted cast and crew of show business misfits who believe in Ed's off-kilter vision, the filmmaker is able to bring his oversized dreams to cinematic life. Despite a lack of critical or commercial success, Ed and his friends managed to create an oddly endearing series of extremely low-budget films. So it's a true story. The films that they show in the movie are actual movies, and they're pretty much known in film circles to be the worst films of all time. I mean, they're bad. They're real bad. And you know, like, part of it has to go with, like, he was, like, obsessed with doing only one take because he was trying to do 25, 30 scenes in a day. You know, I think, I'm trying to think of the most amount of scenes I've ever done in a day on a set. Maybe around 8 to 10. That's really pushing it. That's a long day. So, and you know, some of that stuff has to be no dialogue, has to be really simple stuff. So, trying to do 30 in a day is crazy town. So Beat, tell me, did you like this film?
I have my reservations about the film.
Oh no. Okay.
But I did like it. I
Yeah.
didn't want to like it. For some reason, my brain was telling me, oh my God, what is happening? But I liked it. It was so weird.
You were kind of that way with Moulin Rouge also.
I was. Maybe it's because, like, this is not my genre. It's not my thing, you know?
Yeah.
And it's just my brain telling me, don't like this.
Yeah.
But I actually did quite enjoy it. I think Johnny Depp played his role very well.
Mm-hmm.
I do think he plays a lot of his roles very well, and he just embodied what, like, I envisioned Ed to be.
Yeah.
Just, like, super enthusiastic, just wanting everything, and just that type of man that just takes what he wants, begs for what he wants, steals, and
Yeah.
makes sure that he's getting his dream. And I loved the way he played it. I also loved, you know, the side characters.
Yeah. Well,
Bill Murray.
Okay.
I loved Bill Murray.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's just fun to watch.
Yeah, he's just amazing. I love Bill.
So Johnny Depp's Ed Wood is, like, very optimistic, which is interesting because Johnny Depp at the time was sort of disillusioned with acting and just sort of felt like he was bored. And this was right at the time that he and Winona Ryder broke up, and he was, like, devastated by that. And supposedly, he would show up to set just, like, in tears, just being heartbroken over her. So,
wow.
So just, like, it really is a testament to his performance, his acting ability, and just how just blindly optimistic that character is. So
That's crazy.
yeah. What else stuck out to you about this film? I have a feeling this is going to be a short episode tonight.
I liked just the real aspect of it, just like the funniness, the little clips and side scenes that you've seen that were just funny for no reason because it felt so real. Like when the big lug ran into the door, he's like, "No, that would have happened."
Oh yeah, and
he struggles with it,
and that's in the actual movie.
Is it?
It
oh
is.
My goodness.
Yeah, because I mean, like I said, he didn't do other takes. I think I had you make a note about, or you made a note about, at one point one of the guys says, you know, don't you want a second take, you know, just in case. And I commented that we call those a safety takes. So, like, do you want another one for safety?
Yeah.
And we almost always do 2 takes. It's very rare that we just do one and go. I mean, everything has to be just perfect. And really, for, you know, nowadays, it's a little easier to do a single take because, one, you can watch it back immediately. It's all digital. There's very little that can go wrong. But when you shoot on film, you don't know. You have no idea if there's an overexposure in that section of the film strip, or they have a whole thing where there's a gate that sort of, like, moves to help the camera take the image, and you have to check the gate. So, like, once you are done with the scene, you'll often hear directors say, you know, check the gate. to make sure that everything was operating. You know, like, we have it now, we're good, we're going to move on, but let's make sure that the gate was functioning properly, and then we can go. You've seen the movie Final Destination, right? The first one?
Yes.
Have you ever noticed there's a scene in the first movie? Sorry, I just took a little drink there. When spoilers. So the scene where the teacher, the woman teacher, she's like gonna move, and she's gonna it's basically her death scene. And there's a whole thing where like then she puts a dish rag on a knife block, which pulls the knife block down, and then she spills vodka from her cracked mug all over the floor, and then things catch fire. And you know what I'm talking about, that scene?
Yeah.
And she's got a tea kettle, and if you notice in the scene, it looks completely different than the rest of the scene. There's like this like weird, not stuttery effect to it, but almost like you're seeing, it almost looks like it's moving too fast or something. And I don't know if you've ever noticed that in the movie before, but
No.
that happened because the gate slipped and fell at a weird angle and was partially held open, which meant it wasn't shooting the number of frames that the rest of the movie was shot at. It was actually shooting a higher rate of frames. So if you ever go back and look at that scene, you'll notice that, especially when she moves the tea kettle, for example, you got something really shiny. It moves fairly close to the camera, and you just really get a real feel for like something's off about this, and that's the gate situation. So
Yeah, I'll definitely have to take a look at that. That's weird.
yeah, there's another movie called Three Kings. It's got like George Clooney and I think maybe Mark Wahlberg, and it's about soldiers in Iraq. And there's a bunch of scenes where they purposely forced the gate open to get that kind of look. And nowadays,
They wanted it to look like that.
yeah, and nowadays people just shoot at like a higher frame rate. So, you know, Peter Jackson did the Hobbit films, so he did those at like, I don't know, 48 frames a second, I think, and that's double what you normally would have. So in theory, if he went back and played the movie at 24 frames per second, which is how you normally watch a movie, everything would be at half speed. So when they played them in the theater, they just played them at 48 frames a second. And it's supposed to give you like more detail, and it looks bizarre. I mean, frankly, it's sort of a fail. I think sort of a failed experiment. You didn't see people continuing to do it, and that's just because we're sort of like 24 frames per second is it's how your brain works essentially. So you know, it takes you 1/24 of a second for you to like process what just happened.
Yeah.
So, you know, when you start adding double that, it just I think some people get headaches, and
It's a little much.
yeah, it's too much. It's too much. There's this whole thing about persistence of vision, where your brain has processed that bit of information while you're getting the next bit of information. And it's sort of how you can, you know, when you go to the movie theater, you're sitting in a completely dark room for half the time, but your brain is processing the light images, and they're being constantly thrown at you. And so all you really comprehend is what you're seeing on the screen.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
They would try to like do it on purpose.
Yeah. And, you know, that's a really like extremely simplistic way to boil that down. There's a lot more that goes into persistence of vision, and some people don't really buy into it, but I mean, you know, it is what it is. I don't know. But so yeah, so that was a long way to talk about the second take, safety take. Safety take. What else did you remark or make notes?
I remarked on almost all of his films.
All of
So
what?
everything he was, almost all of his films. One thing that like struck me about the movie is
Lugosi?
Lugosi.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I don't know. In the beginning, I kind of felt like he was using him a little,
Sure.
and then like he was using his idol to make his films. Pretty much, it was like a way to make people see like, oh, he's got a big star. You know, he may be washed out, but he's still a name.
Yeah, I think
Um,
probably there's a little bit of that, for coming from the, the filmmaking side of it. I can tell you that sometimes, you know, I say this all the time. Like I live a weird life. Like I never, thought that I would be in a position where I'm at now, where I get to make movies. And, I tell people a lot, like, people literally kill to be able to make movies. And so, without name dropping and stuff, I've, been on set and hung out with and made friends with, some people that ended up having really big careers, some people who are still struggling to make their careers happen or whatever. But what you find is that when you connect with these people, all you want to do is be excited and make stuff with them. Like, it's like a kinship, like an artist kinship. So
yeah,
I think there's a side of it too, where it's like, usually they say, never meet your idols, but every once in a while you do, and they're great. And all you want to do is like, make art with them. And it's tough when they're established and you're not, because then it does kind of like feel or at least appear that you're like riding their coattails or whatever. But, in my experience and experience seeing other people, a lot of the time it's just pure excitement and wanting the joy of wanting to work with people that you love.
yeah, I definitely think that in the end, like I think,
Yeah.
like in the beginning, I felt that way, and then like, with Bela Lugosi, he was like, he still wanted that fame, he still wanted that recognition, and I think that he helped him get that for himself,
Yeah.
like, to revive his career almost.
Yeah.
And I loved that. I also hated his first girlfriend.
Oh, so Dolores.
Yeah.
So what they didn't talk about in the movie is that, I mean, they talked about it at the very end in the little snippet about Ed in the credits. But he was like, from my understanding, he was a raging alcoholic, and the reason she left him was because of his alcoholism, and not for other reasons. She actually helped raise money for Glenn or Glenda, and then she helped him like rewrite scenes for it, and she helped him pick wardrobe. So the portrayal of her in the film is maybe a little bit more antagonistic, I think, than she was in real life. But yeah, I mean, talk about a movie ahead of its time, right? Glenn or Glenda?
Yeah, 100%. Like that's crazy.
Yeah.
Like if they released it now, maybe better scenes.
Well, yeah.
But the idea of it, the idea of it,
Sure.
I think it would. I don't know if it would be a blockbuster, but a guaranteed blockbuster. But it would be something,
Yeah. So I actually asked you to make a note about guaranteed blockbuster.
Yeah.
So that's a thing where you are not allowed, you're not legally allowed to tell people this is guarantee moneymaker. You have to disclose you may lose all your money. So that, and it might be that in that era that it was fine to do that, but now like you're legally obligated to say, hey, this is what the plan is. This is what we're hoping for. This could be a huge blockbuster. You could make a ton of money, but the reality is, this is a total risk. It may make absolutely nothing.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's a big swindle. It's just
Sure.
like a big lie just to get your investment.
Yeah. Well, and the, he was talking to like church people and a landlord, and they found a chiropractor, and that's actually not all that uncommon in the film industry, especially when you're dealing with low budget or independent projects. You'll find a lot of people who sort of live, no offense to anyone, but kind of boring lives, that have a lot of money. They tend to want to do stuff like this, because it's like so different and it's very exciting, and it gives them an opportunity to hobnob with people. And when I was going to school, they were like, find yourself a dentist. Like dentists have lots of money, and they're bored, and they love film and blah, 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 blah. And one of the horror films that I did, was funded primarily by a group of dentists. And it's just crazy.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, if it works, it works.
Yeah, sure. So what else? What else you got on there? I don't have your notes, so sorry, folks.
You're fine. One of the things that, like, remember when I was like, I'll save it. And I was thinking, I had my reservations were, why are these people working with him? And then, like, literally the next scene was like, oh, his next one's gonna be great. Oh my God, this was so good. I was like, they actually, like, they believed in him. They worshipped this man, and they worked for probably little to no money because he didn't have any.
Yeah, they probably put money in. Yeah,
they were.
Again, I think some of it is, look, these people weren't talented. These actors, like, these were guys that were not really born to be actors. They couldn't emote, and they made bad decisions, and so, like, bad choices as actors. And I think when somebody's willing to take a chance on you, you're willing to, like, sort of take a chance and believe in them. And so I think there's some of that. I also think that, this is a terribly difficult industry to be in. I've had a number of friends move to Los Angeles and then move back home after a few years. Some people even after months. And I mean, in the film, Bela Lugosi talks about, well, Martin Landis as Bela Lugosi talks about how this town just chews you up and spits you out. And it's true in a lot of ways. And I think probably the thing that's the most discouraging, and I think the thing that gets a lot of people, is that you have to try and try and try and try and try and fail all those times before you ever get a success. And I mean, even the small things that I've worked on up to this point that have been released have not really been all that successful. A couple short films have won some awards and things like that, but none of, like, the features that I've worked on were, like, big successes, or got anybody any extra work or anything like that. So, but you have to. I mean, you could give up. I mean, that's one option, right? Or you can just keep trying and go, the next one's going to be the one, and you have to believe that, or else there's no point in doing it at all.
Yeah, you gotta have the ideal.
Yeah,
and that's like the scene with Ed, and when he met his, an actor that he loved,
Orson
and
Welles.
he was kind of like, what'd you say?
Orson Welles
in the bar.
Yeah.
Yes, when he met him, and he was kind of like inspiring him, and he went back, and he was like, "You're gonna listen to me. This is how I'm doing. You're not gonna mess up my artistic vision." Like, that's the kind of outlook I see in people that make and direct and produce movies. Is they have a vision, and they're not going to let someone step on it. I love that.
Yeah.
Like, I love that determination. And that gave me a little bit of love towards Ed.
Yeah. Well, I think there's, he's definitely of a bygone era, where that's very rare now, where you have, that's what we call an auteur, right? They do everything. Mm-hmm. They write it, they produce it, they direct it, they do the music. And it's extremely, extremely rare now. Back then, your crew was a lot smaller, so it was a little easier to, like, take on those kinds of roles all in one person. And there's something, like, I think romantic about that.
Yeah.
And I love it too. I will say that now, let's see, I've been doing this for almost 20 years, and I can tell you that filmmaking today is 100% a team effort.
100% what?
A team effort, and
Yeah.
it's difficult to turn off that part of you that's like, I know better, and being willing to like hear out other people. Sometimes it's really difficult to do that because you believe it, like we were just talking about, you like believe in yourself, and you want to prove it. You want to prove that you know what you're doing. So it's difficult to turn that off. You could probably never nowadays, unless you were, Steven Spielberg or Martin Scorsese or something, go in and tell producers to fuck off. I mean, just not going to happen. It's a quick way to lose your job.
Oh yeah.
I mean, even Steven Spielberg, like, man, he went to the Jaws set every day thinking he was going to be fired. Every day he was worried he was being fired.
Really?
Yeah, and then he made what at the time was the biggest film of all time. It's kind of crazy. Yeah. So
it's crazy. It is an amazing movie.
Yeah. But yeah, you gotta be able to. Yeah, I think there's a balance, right? Know when to tell people that you know what you're doing, and when to listen.
Yeah.
Again,
when to take criticism, and
Yeah. Again, on Jaws, like, right away, like, one of the things that helped Spielberg was that he did the research, right? So he read the script. He stole the script out of somebody's office, and then went to him and said, "This is the movie I want to do." And he was convincing them that he wanted to do it. They actually hired a different director. This is all in the Jaws podcast, actually, but the first director that they wanted to hire kept calling the shark the whale. He was mixing up the name of the boat with the fact that it's a shark movie, because the name of the boat is the Orca. And they knew that it was just like, he just couldn't get it through his head that it wasn't a whale. And so they had to just like move on. And so they end up hiring Spielberg, and like the first thing he's like, this, and this that you have in mind already are not going to work. As soon as they hired him, he was like on the spot. He's like, okay, here's the deal. These things aren't going to work. We have to get a mechanical shark, blah, 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 blah. And he was able to do that because he had done the research and knew what he was talking about, They thought they could train sharks. Amazing. He was like, you can't train a shark. It will eat you. It's just not going to happen.
They were trying to train a shark?
That's what they wanted to do. That's what the studio wanted to do, was train a shark.
Are they crazy?
Well, they didn't know. Some movie guy doesn't know, in the 70s.
Yeah.
So.
Crazy.
Yeah.
One other thing I wanted to touch on was the fact that Kathy accepted his love for wearing with women's clothing.
Like immediately, right?
Immediately. And I think that's so beautiful that you can like literally tell someone your deepest, darkest secret, something that you may feel ashamed of and other people put you down for. And she was just like a minute of contemplating, and then, okay.
Yeah.
And that may not have been how the actual conversation went, but
it's a beautiful scene.
It's a beautiful scene. Yeah. I literally was like, oh my God. And when he proposed to her, beautiful.
So I wanted to point out, I asked you to make a note about the spook house scene, because there's this great moment, I think, that where, that you hit on, where she accepts him, like he's honest with her, but it's like the stars aligned for him to be able to do that. And it was foreshadowed earlier in the film. And that's Lugosi's sitting with him, and he says, you want to make out with a girl? You take her to see Dracula. And what do you see? What did they see inside the spook house right before the lights went out? Dracula. And they're talking about how having seen Dracula, it was the first picture they went to. And then the lights go out, and he has this opportunity. I mean,
it was like a beautiful, like full circle moment.
It's so great. It's such a wonderful moment. And then you're right. The proposal scene is just like this Hollywood thing, you know.
Yeah, it was like just a huge like show-stopping moment, and I was just like, oh, it was gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I don't care that it's raining. I don't care that I have 60 buckets of water in my vehicle right now.
Yeah.
And when you open that door, it's going to be a waterfall of water.
Yeah.
Marry me.
Yeah. So that they had Kathy Wood came to set to see them shoot some of this, and the day she was there was a scene where and Tim Burton was like really nervous about having her there this particular day because they were shooting a scene where Ed was like disheveled and stuff. They didn't want her worrying about how they were making her former husband look. And I guess Johnny Depp came out of the trailer all messed up, and she took one look at him and said, "That's my Eddie."
Oh my God.
I'm just like, oh, that's amazing.
That was so beautiful.
So, all right.
That literally gave me the goosies.
All right. So what else? Sorry, that was my goose noise. Anything else on the?
Other than that, I did write down Musso and Frank's.
The restaurant I always wanted to go to.
Yeah,
I'd love to go there.
If
you ever come out here,
I'm definitely gonna have to look it up. I feel like I feel 100% that I've heard that name before.
Oh yeah, it's like a classic Hollywood, like movers and shakers would go there. They showed that in the movie, and they showed the Brown Derby. The Brown Derby doesn't exist anymore, which was this restaurant that looked like a big hat. But yeah, that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, and the only other thing I was thinking was just the audacity of them to get baptized by the church to literally make a movie.
To make a grave robbing movie.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I thought that was pretty hilarious and just downright wrong, but it was hilarious to me.
Yeah, and I like the and I'm sure this was, for the movie itself, not what really happened, but there were a lot of moments where things that happened in his life informed the dialogue of his films. So like the pull the strings and Baptist stupid, and then later you see that in Plan 9 from Outer Space, a guy that says something like that. Yeah. Martians stupid.
Yeah. Yeah. So. No, I think he is a really cool person. Like, I don't know why. I just think he's awesome.
Who, Ed Wood or Johnny Depp?
The fact that he did that.
Ed Wood. You're referring to Ed Wood?
Yes.
Yeah. So are you gonna seek out these old movies and?
Probably. I'm probably gonna watch one just to dip my toe in the water of this horrible horror film.
Yeah, I mean, probably
see it for real.
Yeah, probably Plan 9's probably the more interesting one. That's the one people can kind of tolerate because it's so bad that it's kind of enjoyable to watch, whereas the other ones are kind of bad and kind of boring. Glenn or Glenda's unique, so that kind of sets it apart, but. Yeah, they're bad movies. They're real bad movies.
Well, I plan to put myself through it.
So this one won 2 Academy Awards. It won Best Makeup, and then it also won Martin Landau won Best Supporting Actor. And it was the first time, I think, in Academy Award history where an actor won an acting award for playing a real life actor in a film. That makes sense.
Yes, 100% makes sense. A little confusing at first, but I got it.
It was like
that's crazy.
An actor playing an actor who
also
acts in the film.
He did very well.
Yeah.
Like, I was literally gonna, like, I know that would have been a stupid question, but I was literally gonna ask, is he actually, like, him? Like, playing himself? I was like, he would have been old at the time. No. And then he passed away in the movie. I was like, oh, wait, this is about Eddie's life. He already passed away.
Your reaction to his death, I was like, oh.
I was so sad. I literally didn't want that to happen. I knew it was going to happen because, hello. But, he was sick and elderly and
It was just like,
that's how they were portraying him, and it was foreshadowed. But I was just like, come on,
well, it was like the scene right after he was like talking about how young and
vigorous
good he
and
felt.
young his heart felt, and how like he just, man, that hit me hard. I was like, yo, but that's how quickly it can happen, you know.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
You know, you get that moment of clarity, and then
so
happen.
the woman that gave Ed the $300, the aspiring actress who took Dolores's part in Bride of the
Loretta
Monster.
King.
Yeah, so
She sounds so familiar. She was an actual actress, right? Like even after his movies.
I'm sure she was. I don't know off the top of my head what she went on to do. I was just going to say the actress, Juliet Landau, it was Martin Landau, the guy who played Bella, his daughter. And she is probably most well known for being on Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
What?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Trying to think who else was in there. Who else was in this movie?
Sharketta, Sarah Jessica Parker. Oh, I did want to mention. I thought it was really funny how like it just kind of like broke my mind how Sarah Jessica Parker can be such a good actress, like for her role, right?
Yeah.
And then it was her filming with Loretta when she had taken her role or whatever, and they were in the hallway and they were speaking during the scene, and I was just like, God, there's no life to their voices. Why are they doing this? And I was like, oh, they're actors portraying bad actors. Like no life in their voice.
Oh yeah. They're like, oh hi. It's just so
how are you?
Yeah. Oh, Vincent D'Onofrio had that small part as Orson Welles. So that was, I don't know if you recognize Vincent D'Onofrio. He's in Men in Black, and he's on the Law and Order shows, and then he was, of course, Kingpin, and in the...
Was that really his voice?
No. So apparently they didn't like his Orson Welles impersonation, and they had Maurice LaMarche come in and do it, who does, like... Oh, sorry, I'm hearing a bit of an echo there. He does a lot of, like... animated voices. So Pinky and the Brain, he's the Brain, which is also basically Orson Welles. So it's the same voice. So they just dubbed him.
Okay. Because when I first heard his voice and I saw who it was, I immediately was like, that's a nice voice. But I was like, that doesn't sound like him at all, because I watched Law and Order a lot.
Yeah.
Like, Criminal Intent and SVU were my jams when I was younger.
Sure.
So I was like, that doesn't sound anything like him. Like, I don't even think he can make that voice. And I was like, but okay. Whatever.
Yeah, no, not his voice.
I'm glad I asked you, because I never would have known that.
Well, I mean, good catch. It was a good catch. Max Casella was in this movie. I love Max Casella. Probably the thing that people most know him for is Newsies. If you're a Newsies guy, Newsies kid.
Nope,
no.
Not a Newsies kid.
No, I just watched that for the first time not that long ago. I told Desi, I said, I've never seen Newsies. She gasped in shock, so we watched it. All right. Well, anything else to add?
Watch it if you want to.
You're
I think people would enjoy the movie.
I agree. I mean, is this something you would recommend? Would you recommend this to Ruth or whoever, your parents?
I don't think I would recommend it to Ruth, but I definitely would recommend it to my husband. I think my husband would like it.
Yeah. So I'm looking for our wheel here.
I think he would like the real, like based on his actual life part of it, and then.
Yeah. All right. Well, are you ready to should we spin the wheel for the next movie?
Spin the wheel. Spin the wheel.
I see Citizen Kane rolling around on here. All right, here it comes. Okay. I'm a little tempted to spin again. I feel like we're getting a lot of modern ones right off the bat. So we got Into the Spider-Verse.
Are we really?
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
Oh, okay. So we get to watch an animated movie next time.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I like the mix up, you know.
Yeah. I just feel like they've all been fairly. I mean, I guess Ed Wood's 30 years old now almost, but it still feels fairly modern to me compared to like Citizen Kane is in here, and what else is in here? To Kill a Mockingbird, and It Happened One Night is from like 1934. So those are. I'm surprised we're not getting more of those. At some point, we're gonna get all these modern ones out of the way, and then it's just gonna be like all old stuff all the time, and you're gonna hate life because you're a young person.
No, I'm gonna enjoy it.
Okay, that's good.
I've been pleasantly surprised with the last two movies, and I look forward to just seeing things I wouldn't normally see. I think that's a really cool thing about this podcast, and
yeah, that's what it's all about. Okay. So that's it for us. We're going to sign off, and the next time you hear us, we'll be talking about Spider-Verse. And we will see you next time. Bon Cinema.